So, hello everyone, welcome to the COP22 Media Zone. My name is Mowen. I'm the Asia Pacific Director from AIESEC International.
Yes, and my name is Ralitera. I'm part of Climate's Think and Do tank led by youth and for youth. And Mowen, I think you have a question for His Excellency Peter Thomson.
Yeah, so it's our pleasure today to have Mr. Peter Thomson here to be with us, talk about SDG implementation and also how to engage youth. So hello, Mr. President.
Hi, and I'm Peter Thomson. I'm the President of the United Nations General Assembly and formerly for the last 7 years, the Ambassador of Fiji to the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you. So to start about the questions, the first question is very personal. Can I have the slide? So in AIESEC, last year we did about the Youth Speak survey, and also we have around 200,000 replies from the young people. And also we asked the one question is that what is your motivation that drive most of your life? And so the top question is like family, love, and also the purpose of life. So I want to know that, Mr. President, when you were like 20 years old, what were you doing and also dreaming about? Were you thinking about working in UN and also do something for the world?
Well, when I was 20, that was a very long time ago. But look, I came out of university in 1971, and my degree was in development studies. I went straight into rural development work in Fiji. At the United Nations, when people talk about the Sustainable Development Goal on sanitation and village water schemes and so on, so that's what I was doing in the 1970s. I spent 1 decade in rural development. So my passion in life in those days, and it embarrasses my staff when I tell them, was pit latrines. I was digging pit latrines. I was putting in small village water schemes and building community halls and that sort of thing. So I've pretty much been a development person most of my life. In terms of what drives me now, now that I'm a grandfather, I tell you what, I got a bit disillusioned with development about halfway through my life because it didn't seem to be going to a good place to me. But when the Sustainable Development Goals came along, I got encouraged again. I could see that development was being redirected towards sustainability. Very important. So why do I care about that so much? Because I'm a grandfather, and what drives me now in terms of motivation is that my grandchildren will have a secure place on this planet and be able to enjoy the beautiful planet the way I did back when I was 20.
Oh, thank you for your answer. So, because it's very important to see SDGs at a global level, it is also almost important, as important to see them at a personal level. So my question would be, how do you implement SDGs in your everyday life?
Well, I think the first thing that an individual has to do is understand what these 17 Sustainable Development Goals are, right? It's not just like, it's not like bus directions to get to school or something. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals are humanity's master plan for the survival of our species on this planet. That's how high the stakes are. And for people that haven't yet realized that we are currently on a very unsustainable track into the future. In other words, our species is approaching a crisis point where life will no longer be sustainable in the way that we imagine it to be today. Those that haven't yet realized that have got to wake up. And the wake up, after you wake up, you then look at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, because this is the master plan. This is not something that a bunch of bureaucrats dreamt up. This is the 193 countries of the world got together for 3 years and debated, how can we have a sustainable future? And that's what these 17 goals are. So the first thing that people can do, whether they're old or young, is get the 17 Sustainable Development Goals between their ears. They have to understand in their brains the importance of these goals and then start adapting their lives accordingly.
Thank you. But when we mention about SDG implementation, what will be the role of UN and also why the climate action will be the priority?
Okay, well, as you know, SDG 13 is the climate change goal. So, you know, you have to, when I say that this is the master plan for humanity's survival on the planet, I think you need to also segue into that the Paris Agreement on climate change. That is the other great human achievement in terms of the way forward for our species on this planet. So taken together, I think we have the answer. But at the moment, my worry is that people have not realized, first of all, the importance, and then secondly, the solution that these goals offer. My estimate is that all of the governments of the world, pretty much all of them, have got the goals into their national development plans now. But my other estimate is that over 90% of humanity has never heard of the Sustainable Development Goals. So that's why events such as what we're doing now here are so important, because it's for every human being to understand that this is their plan for and their grandchildren's plan for survival.
Wow. In order to, because you talked about the people who didn't hear, but there's also lots of people who are already involved in the SDGs and to implement them. What was the most impressive youth proposition that you heard about and you were able to help to put into actions?
Well, as I said to you, at present, I am not feeling up about the fact that people have embraced these goals. I'm feeling the opposite. And so my role in coming to organizations such as this and events such as this is to say, hey, everybody, step up. Step up, you know. It's, in particular, I think the youth have got to step up, because the youth of today will be the adults when the 2030 agenda is achieved. Will we have failed in implementing these goals, or will we have succeeded? If we have succeeded, they have a secure place in the future. If we've failed, then unsustainability lies ahead. So at the moment, I'm not doing anything other than trying to raise the consciousness of the seriousness of implementing and taking ownership of these goals for all organizations and all people, and particularly to youth. This is your agenda. This doesn't belong to the UN. It's not something that, you know, bureaucrats just talk to each other about, which is what's been happening. It's your agenda, young people. Take the ownership, make the changes.
Exactly. And I also have some data about how young people understand about SDG. Can I come to next slide? So when we have the survey, like around 45% of young people, and they know about what is SDG goal, but we still have around more than 50% people that don't know about SDG. And also when we ask them that what is your top 3 priority for SDG, they choose about education, no poverty, good health, and also well-being. And climate action is about the number 5. So I'd like to know that for these people, and also most of them, they are from the middle or high education class. But for this young generation who are still not engaged with SDG, or even they don't care, or they are not aware, how can we engage them and ways about SDG implementation?
Well, I'm very interested in your survey. It's certainly a lot more positive than my own personal surveys. When I say my personal surveys, I mean just talking to everybody I meet. I always bring up SDGs like 10 times a day. And I'm sorry, but whether it's the taxi driver or the hotel clerk or even educated members of my extended family, I don't get a great uptake on knowledge of the SDGs. So I'm very pleased about the results of your survey. Look, how do we increase that outreach, I think was your basic question. One of the things I did last week was I wrote to the heads of government of all 193 countries in the world and emphasized the fact that I don't think there has been a big uptake yet on the SDGs amongst humanity. So to all the heads of government, I said, please get into your school curriculums and into every classroom in the world the teaching of the SDGs, why we need them, and what will happen if we don't teach them, please. So that letter went out last week. I'm already getting some positive feedback from countries, and there's been absolutely no pushback on that idea. So hopefully young people will have in their school curriculums over the next couple of years what the SDGs are. And of course, the beauty of that is that, you know, whereas my generation, the selfish generation that's got us into this trouble, will probably not change a lot in our lifetimes. The young people who have really got the skin in the game, because they're it's their lives which are going to be affected by this agenda, they will be the ones who forcing their parents to change their habits on consumption and all the other aspects of the SDGs.
From a youth perspective and from someone who is already taking SDGs into actions and who is fighting climate change with NGOs, with a youth constituency in the UNFCCC, and that we see we are here today and there's a lot of us willing to take actions, but how can we trust that will give us the material necessary to do that job?
Okay, so first of all, don't look to other people. Look to yourselves.
We
right?
do.
And when you look to yourselves, you're making consumption choices. If you are offered a car with gasoline and are prepared to get into that and burn carbon fuel for the rest of your life, fine, that's your choice. But if you want to take a responsible decision, try and find some alternative, whether it's an electric car or whether it's a bicycle or just walking. That's what we used to do. Do you really need to have an air conditioner in your house? I was born in the tropics. Every generation before me never had an air conditioner. I never worked or slept in an air-conditioned room till I was about 40 years old. Now you can't go anywhere without air conditioning. So my point is, it's about personal choices on consumption patterns is the biggest change factor here, I think.
Yes, sorry, because for me, we are already doing all those stuff. We are already involving ourselves and in a sustainable, more desirable world with the SDGs when they come, and this is really good material for us to help us to bring those issues to the politicians, to the diplomats. But sometimes I feel we lack a sense of we are not very well here. So this is the reason I ask you that question.
Yeah, well, I think in response, the choice lies with humanity, right? Too many people say it's up to the government to do it, right? Or it's up to business to do it. But you have the choice not to buy that car that I mentioned. So if human beings are saying to the auto industry, we don't want your stinking cars anymore, give us an electric car, then the companies will start producing those cars. So that's the consumer choice. If governments are not delivering on all these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, you have the choice to say to your government, sorry, deliver or go. We'll get another government in. That's where Goal 16 is so important, good governance.
Yeah, but for instance, we had like a climate march earlier this Sunday, and we also are already saying to the government that we don't want the stinking cars or that we want a sustainable economy, and there is no much change at the moment. So I'm really concerned.
You have to keep the pressure. That's the responsibility of your generation.
What kind of overpressure can we do? We go on streets. We sign petition. We are here today. There's a lot of youth here today to take actions, and there is nothing much change. So what can we do? Yeah.
You're doing exactly what you should be doing. You're advocating for change, right? But I don't think it's true to say that everybody is acting in that way. The fact is, people are still behaving in a very selfish way about the future. It's no longer morally acceptable for us to be stealing the future of young people of the future. You know, you will be old one day, you know, and you should not, your generation should not do what my generation did, which is basically steal the future from those to come. So, as I say, it's the actions of every human being that is going to make this change.
Yeah, exactly. And also, when we mention about the government and also youth, I also have some data. Can we come to next slide? So, when we ask about young people, do you know about the sustainable policy of your country? And we have 38 people that say yes, but still 57% of people that say no, and also 5% percentage young people, they say, I don't care. And also when we ask them that who do you think will be influence most of the society? And they say that still most of people, they think government can make the influence. And also we have around 20% people believe that youth organization, they can make the change of the world. And also we still have like the business and also NGO. So my question is that when we're talking about government and also youth, how can UN, government, and young people, they are working together to achieve the SDG implementation?
Okay, it's a very interesting graph to me because my view of the world is different from that graph. I see individuals as having a much bigger responsibility than that. Youth-led organizations, great, because as I said, the SDGs are about the future and that's youth. Government, yes, government has a huge role to play. It sets the frameworks, it delivers on infrastructure and so on, but I'm also interested that private sector is so low there, because I think as you went around this climate change COP, you would have seen the important role of business. In many ways, businesses are ahead of governments in accepting the need for investment in the green economy. Smart business leaders are seeing why invest in the old economy? The future lies in the green economy. So I think business actually should be a bigger part of that. But governments, yes, huge role to play, setting the scene. Remember that this whole agenda came about by 193 governments getting together and saying, okay, this is what we need. And then holding ourselves accountable. We have a system where governments hold ourselves accountable because it's up to the national governments to set the frameworks in their own countries to make all these sustainable development goals be achieved. But they hold themselves accountable by coming to us at the UN in what we call the high-level political forum, which meets every year. So I think government's doing its bit at the global level, and I'm sure is doing it at the national level. I have been to meet with the Prime Minister of India, I've been to meet the Premier of China, and I was very impressed at the way that the governments have incorporated these 17 Sustainable Development Goals into the national plans. But I say again, I am not impressed by the way that humanity as a whole has learnt about the goals and is putting them into practice. I think it's up to individuals to take personal responsibility. Don't look to governments or others to do it all for you. You have to do it for yourselves. And I say that as a grandfather, and that's what I tell my grandchildren. You make your choices. Don't follow what I'm doing. Make your own choices. Understand what these 17 goals stand for, because it stands for a sustainable future for you and your grandchildren, hopefully, when they come.
Thank you. To all the youth that are here today, to all the youth that could not hear us also, because we want to be inclusive as much as possible, what would be your message to our generation, from your generation, about how to link the SDGs and climate change, because we are also at the COP22 today?
Well, climate change, as I said earlier, is the cross-cutting one. It affects everything, whether you're talking about good health or whether you're talking about clean water or life on land, or look at it all. It's all about climate change. So understand that this is a cross-cutting agenda. I also want to bring special attention to the climate change effect on SDG 14, the water SDG, the ocean SDG, because people must understand that the ocean is dying. And if you haven't woken up to that yet, please study what's happening to fish stocks in the world. Please have a look at ocean acidification levels. Please see what's happening to coastal ecosystems. Please see what is happening to marine pollution and plastics. There's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish sometime soon. So see all that and understand that the ocean is an essential part of our world. It is the lung for the air that we breathe. So again, I give you that message that you must understand this agenda in its totality. The fact that it's universal, but the fact that it's integrated. Understand that, and you will have the possibility of living on this beautiful planet in the same way that my generation did, in terms of enjoying the sun coming up every day and the moon coming out at night. But ignore this agenda and do so at your peril, because we are not living in a sustainable way at present. Climate change alone is the best indicator of that. There's a protest group outside this hall saying 1.5 to stay alive. But I'm sad to say that 1.5, which is the goal of us Pacific Islands, is almost already passed. And whether we can bend that curve to stay below the 2 degrees that the Paris Agreement is talking about is also a very, very big question mark. We're heading at the moment, trending towards a 3 to 4 degree world. That is just fires and death everywhere. You have to understand, 4 degrees is not a sustainable world, and that is where we're heading at the moment. So people must be aware that the change is necessary, that these agreements are not just a bunch of bureaucrats talking to themselves. It's actually the master plan for humanity's survival on the planet.
Thank you very much for the insights. And we still have several minutes. I want to ask if any audience you have the question. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Her Royal Highness Princess Abzijigma from Burkina Faso, Renewable Energy Ambassador from Burkina Faso, an engineer by profession and electricity, specialized in solar. I'm sorry I didn't follow the beginning of the conversation, but indeed, just to consolidate what you're saying, it's time really to act, and everybody at his level can do. And I think that I just saw the map that the private sector is not involved. Indeed, I think the private sector also is an influencer. And also, we often go top-down, but I think the bottom-up approach also is important. Greening up it should be part of the narrative. Just a comment on that. And I would like to continue the conversation and see what we can do with the policymakers at the global level. I thank you, and congratulations with your session.
No, thank you for that, because I entirely agree with you. I think human beings have to take responsibility for their future. Don't sort of imagine that somebody up there like the President of the General Assembly or something is going to make all the decisions. That's not the way that change is going to happen. But also, congratulations on your work in Burkina Faso. You know, the cost of solar and the cost of wind power, these are all falling very, very rapidly. That's why I was saying earlier, smart business people are investing in the green economy. That's where the jobs and infrastructure will be in the future, not in the old carbon-based energy system. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Thomson. And also, as what you mentioned, like SDG implementation is not only UN role or the government role, but also our generation and also our responsibility. Because 15 years later, it will be us who will be the leader of the world, and also for the life of our generation. And also, we do hope that together with UN, and also we can start about the youth movement, and we can do something for the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And my parting comment to the young people would be, we have created from the 5th to the 9th of June next year, this Oceans Conference at the United Nations, which will be the moment of accountability for human beings to look at the ocean and saying, what are we doing to this one ocean that we have? And what can we do to reverse the cycle of decline in which the ocean is caught? So we have created this week at the United Nations. So I hope everybody will be tuning into that, doing what they can to take a positive approach to its preparation and during the week of June when it's being held, 5th to 9th of June in New York. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is COP22 Media Zone, and also the topic is about SDG implementation and engage youth. Thank you very much for your time.